Welcome to the 200th Quest podcast. New Varrock is the capital of an alternate reality where heroes are in short supply and a tyrannical villain presides over a nation of undead. So in today's podcast we're going to explore this strange new city with...
Mod Stu
and Mod Rowley.
So, Dimension of Disaster, what's it about?
Well, you go to an alternate reality where Zemrugel is in control of it, where the adventurer never existed, where heroes have been wiped out, the villains of the world have taken control, and you need to sort these things out. You need to complete the quests that were never started, explore the sandbox and environment, complete challenges and achievements, and hopefully have a lot of fun with your friends.
So, which quests have we included from the catalogue that are in Varrock?
So you require a previous quest as a requirement for all the quests except for the introduction quest that gets you there.
Right, okay.
There's a Shield of Arav quest, a Shadow of the Storm quest, a Defender of Rock quest, and a Curse of Arav quest that is a conclusion that requires all the others.
And Demon Slayer?
Well, that's a bit of an odd one, is that the Demon Slayer quest requires Shadow of the Storm because it uses elements from the sequel.
Right, okay. Okay. Are there any helpful skills to have when you're going in there?
You should be fine as long as you've completed those quests. That'll set the bar for what appropriate skills are. It would be beneficial to be able to kill things, skill and craft. Is it 90 thieving for the achievements?
Yeah, there are some of the achievements have higher levels. Well, mostly just the elite equivalent achievements in the 90s and higher 80s, I suppose.
Right, okay. So, obviously, this is the 200th quest, so this is quite unusual. It's a very different quest, isn't it? Featuring lots of kind of almost replays of historic quests. How did we come about designing the 200th quest like this?
So the intention was to create a quest that was celebrating 200 quests. So it had something with a nostalgic feel that looks back on an old school style of questing. And tries to indulge the history of the environment that's focused on. So we went with Varrock because we put our poll out to players, and that was the one that they chose. And also internally...
That was about to be my next question to you, actually, was how we chose Varrock. So
sorry.
There we go. No.
So that was also our favourite, though. Out of the available choices, Varrock is one of our oldest cities. It has some of our most classic quests in there, and thought it was a really good place to look back on. And also that there's a story there between the hero Arav and the necromancer Zemrugel that defeated him. That's like the heart story that wraps up the storyline of Varrock, and we wanted to explore that further.
Cool. Were there any quests that we really wanted to include that we didn't?
It would have been really nice if we could have done a Soul's Bane in this reality. It would have been really fun to do, but on the other hand, I'd really love a Soul's Bane rework, so maybe it's better to leave that for later.
Right, okay. I'm sure we'll get to those later on.
We did get some elements in there as well. I mean, we were... Gertrude's Cat came quite highly, I think, in a poll of the quests that players wanted to see.
Yeah.
But it was just one we kind of didn't feel we had time for, and we instead ended up using that time to implement the achievement set.
Right, okay.
But then as part of the achievement set...
we managed to include a bunch of...
more nods to other quests like Romeo and Juliet and Gertrude's Cat, and there's a little bit of Soul's Bane mixed in there too.
Little touches to remember them. Okay, and what kind of rewards and post-quest content does the 200th quest feature? Yeah,
the rewards are a bit of a delicate one, I'll admit. They haven't been particularly well received, but that's primarily because we focused on cosmetics because of the replayable nature of the 200th quest.
Yeah.
We didn't want you to feel like you were forced to play it over and over several times in order to get all the rewards. The rewards are, for the most part, optional.
Yeah.
Now, if you're, of course, a comp caper and you want to do the achievements, you're going to have to do it a few times for that.
Yeah.
But for the majority, it's meant to allow you to replay as much as you wish. But there are also some very tasty ones in there, like the Darklight upgrade. I think that makes a significant improvement to that weapon.
Yeah. I mean, we were very... we tried to be very careful with the number of silver pennies that we give on a playthrough and kind of the categorization of the rewards based on different player types. So there are the cosmetics there.
Yeah.
But if you're more into... like a good usable reward, that's what the Darklight is for, and then all of the shortcuts if you're a player who wants to replay, and then the lamp for the XP players as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So silver pennies, which you've just mentioned, they're the currency you earn. Is that right for the reward shop?
Yeah. Each time you complete Dimension of Disaster, you'll be able to speak to Gypsy Eris and open up her reward shop.
Right.
On your first playthrough, you'll get 10 silver pennies, and on each subsequent playthrough, you get 5 silver pennies.
Right. Okay. And I understand there's a very big prize available with your silver pennies. Is that right?
They're not exactly. We put in an additional item, a mystery gift.
A mystery
which
gift,
required
that's the one I was referring to.
Yeah, and a significant amount of the local currency of New Varrock. That's there to ideally encourage players to get together with their clan, pool their resources, and try to work towards being the first one to open this thing up. And that's actually...
that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah. So I, as I understand, somebody has already revealed it. I don't think we'll say on podcast what's in there for those that haven't yet. But... It is certainly around on the forums and on Reddit as to what is inside the mystery box. I think it looks really cool myself. But Mod Stu, I believe you've been working on some stuff in response to player feedback.
Yes, definitely. This last week, I've been focusing on doing post-release feedback for the Turn of the Quest.
Right.
It's a large amount of content. We anticipated that there'd be a lot of things that we would need to tweak afterwards. So I'm prioritizing those and trying to get them out to you as quickly as possible.
Right.
Some of them will have to wait until next week's release, because certain types of changes can be hot fixed and some types can't.
Yeah.
But for example, there's the issue with the rock guards, their drop tables. The items that people want the most are a bit too rare at the moment. So
right.
Addressing
so there's going to be
that.
some tweaks to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
A lot of feedback players have sent through to me, and that I've been reading on the forums. So that was one of the more priority ones. People wanted balls of wool so that they could string amulets. That's on there as well.
Right.
Darklight, I've made some changes to, well, not changes, made some fixes to Darklight to ensure that the upgrade is working as intended.
Right, okay.
It might need another pass, but we'll get this update out first.
Okay, and see
how
where that lies, yeah.
Yeah, let's see what else. There's an Orb of Oculus. People want to be able to take selfies and so forth. So
yeah,
you'll
of course,
be able to get that from Aubrey. People want to be able to use a Staff of Fire to repair the bots.
Tiny Zemeregal pet.
Right.
Is going to be Tiny Zemo.
Right, okay.
Originally, we wanted to kind of keep them separate because one was in universe, in New Varrock, and very definitely a character. And then when he's out of New Varrock in the real universe, effectively, we wanted him to be Zemeregal.
Yeah.
But he's been so well received that, fine, let's just have Tiny Zemo.
Okay.
And we're also planning to add in some more rewards to the reward shop. There's been a lot of desire for a offhand Darklight, not one that has mechanical benefits, but just as a cosmetic so that they can dual-wield Darklight. As well as some additional shortcuts that help you progress through the quest, and putting silk and coal onto shops, which will be also an unlock.
Right, brilliant. That's a great list, thanks. I've got lots and lots of questions from people for you.
Okay.
Hundreds of questions, in fact, which we're not going to get through all of by any stretch of the imagination. There are a whole bunch of questions, and you can hear me shuffling paper as I go through them all. There's a whole bunch of questions about alternate realities, time travel, what the cities would be like in the other dimension, questions like that. How would you answer those kinds of questions?
Primarily, we'd prefer to see if we could answer those questions in future content if we do any more of these types of quests. We're not planning to at this stage. It's really a matter of whether there is a player desire for them. I was required to make a quest that was self-contained with no expectation that we would do any more of these in the future. But we could if the desire was there. And there's so much you can do with alternate realities and divergent causality that it's an amazingly fun thing to play with elsewhere. But we may do more of this in the future. I'd rather we answered those questions through the narrative of the game rather than locking us to particular answers now, which may constrain storytelling in the future. Yeah,
because obviously if you were to say here, wow, this is what it's like in Burthorpe or Taverley or wherever, that's going to lock in further content, and you want that creative flexibility.
I mean, right now it's a clean slate as well, effectively, in a way. So, I mean, if we do get to explore it, we want to be able to explore it rather than just Stu and I determining answers right now. It might be that other developers would have other ideas, and we'd want to wait until the time was right to kind of lock things down in that regard. But also for me, it's just the idea of there being alternate universes
Yeah.
Would we necessarily want to go back to the same alternate universe? Maybe there are different ones that would be more interesting to explore. And just the concept of a multiverse rather than just this one alternate universe that we've seen a glimpse of.
Yeah, the concept certainly supports that.
Right, okay. Excellent answer. So Hazel asks, should the information from this quest provided be considered canon, or is it all just for fun?
It's an interesting question. We did do an awful lot of exaggeration for comedic effect. You know,
Right,
like Zemregal is pretty heavily Flanderized and made rather ridiculous. But then again, he's a rather ridiculous character to start with.
It's an extension of who he is, really. It's an extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in some respects, this quest was rather cathartic. It was an opportunity for us to go a bit crazier with references and ridiculousness than while we normally have to be a little more restrained and limit how much of that we could do.
Yeah.
It's also a closed loop, effectively. I mean, whether it doesn't really bleed back into the existing universe, it's just very self-contained. You resolve all the issues, your Uchronia closes, and then you reopen it, and you're just in this endless loop, effectively.
Yeah.
So I don't think it needs to be canonical, but conversely, it's not necessarily not canonical.
It's canonical for the location it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean things you find out in it are canonical for Gillen or main universe.
Yeah, precisely. It's internally consistent, I think, is probably
I like that term. Yeah. WeKill asks, now that we have tiny Majorat actually intractable in-game, are miniature Majorat canon? More canon questions.
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Again, Tiny Zemregal certainly canonical in the confines of his reality.
Yes.
I mean, I think particularly with the achievements that you added, we had the opportunity there to really give this character a life and a story within that context in a way that the other ones, I think, of kind of more tangential to the content that they're attached to.
That's a fair point. I'd say that any kind of mocking pet, I mean, like you've got the Barrows, Bubbleheads, I don't think strictly they should be perceived as canonical.
Yes. They are kind of walking parodies themselves, aren't they?
Yeah. But it's nice to, I think, give them their own storyline, I suppose, effectively.
Okay.
But separate. Just try and put it in a little bubble to one side.
Okay. Eridin says, is the alternate dimension that DoD takes place in Scape Rune or another dimension altogether?
It's completely unrelated to Scape Rune. So Scape Rune was this reality inverted in every respect, while the dimension of disaster, Uchronia, is more of a one divergent point in reality, a world where the adventurer wasn't there to complete these quests and how that turned out.
DoD's universe is one where we've gone down a different trouser leg of time.
Yes.
As opposed to fundamentally changing.
Nice referencing to Pratchett there.
Well, he has passed sadly. So.
Yeah.
Eridin also says, this quest was amazing. Have I said this enough?
No, you haven't.
Right. So, Eridin, please say it more.
Please.
D-Domino1 asks, who of you guys came up with all those jokes?
The greater majority of the writing credit I have to give to Dave Osborne.
Right.
If I can even say that. His name's out there. It's too late.
Yes.
I was quite time constrained on this quest, and I needed to focus as much time as possible on mechanically implementing it. So Mod Osborne stepped up in, I believe it was his writing debut in the game in terms of things that actually were released in the game.
I think he's had bits and pieces in the game in the past, but I think this is the first coherent chunk of content.
Right. So it's his fault.
If there's anything that's bad, you can blame him. There might be some bits that are good that Stu and I could take credit for.
Right, okay.
It seems to have been very well received, though. I'm very glad that he took on that, not only because I wouldn't have been able to complete the project without him, but also my approach, I think, would have been a lot more serious. I probably would have played up the totalitarian state elements more and made it more miserable. Well, I think we really needed something that was more upbeat and celebratory for a quest of this nature.
This is really strange and contrary to how I saw it, because I mean the design is pretty much all Stu's.
Yeah.
And I mean I was responsible for Demon Slayer and the achievements. That was kind of what I did, and I was riffing off of what I thought Stu's target was, what his goal was. and also seeing some of the earlier dialogue that Mod Osborne had wrote, and I was trying to riff off that too.
Yeah.
So maybe we made it a little bit more parodical than perhaps you were initially.
No, I absolutely love the direction that was taken. I think it needed to have that. But then there's also this underlying backstory of sorrow and tragedy, and the realization that
we certainly riffed on that.
Yeah, that you terrible things before the people of here, despite
yeah, there are some really dark things in there too.
But there is a great tradition in British comedy of riffing on those dark things and playing on those, even to things like the movie Brazil, on playing on totalitarian states.
Yeah, to a large extent, it was a very dark sense of humour, which I feel was very appropriate to the content, and I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah, I'm wishing I put some Brazil references in there.
Well, merely a comment inspired by your work. There you go.
Wow.
So Neo says, why step right instead of step left? This is extremely important.
Okay, all right. It is actually. It was something of a discussion and back and forth. We spent hours and hours. No, I'm joking.
We didn't have that kind of time.
It was. I think Stu suggested that, hey, let's put a time warp in here, and I implemented it as a step to the left, but the lyric is a jump to the left and a step to the right.
Yeah.
And so there was a whole lot of back and forth about let's make it a step to the right, I think it was.
Yeah, but also you can't jump. You don't have a jump key as it were in RuneScape.
That's right, because we made all the other references to the hips and the wiggling and stuff like that.
And something they actually need to be able to do is walk.
And I didn't realise you'd done this. It was just a dialogue before, but you made it a lot of choices where you can talk about the rest of the lyrics. It was, okay, that was crazy. But it doesn't actually matter if it is left or right. The script is very much, have you moved since talking to this NPC? Yes. Yeah. Right, that'll do then.
Yeah, it's the case with all the spirits, and that's the thing that I love that you did with them, is that they're completely tired of the scenario that they're in. They just want to move on to the afterlife. They're done with this.
Yeah.
They take these tasks that they already know are so mundane and ridiculous. And
it's reducto ad
absurdum.
Yeah, thank you. And that was mostly riffing on the number of times that we reworked Demon Slayer in the past. It's like we need to come up with something that kind of doesn't just retread old ground again. So everyone's a bit meta in that quest, and they're all a bit bored of this. It's like let's not do this again.
And I think Demon Slayer has been very well received. I think it's the one that people usually go to first because it's the closest to the entrance. And I think that a lot of the appreciation we've had for the humour has come from that quest. So thank you.
So Sir Eosley, which I assume is seriously, can we get signature hero mounted heads or stuffed wise old man heads or stuffed Bob as overrides within our POH?
No.
Are you sure?
You're welcome to go kill them.
Yeah, it's not something we're planning to do.
No.
I mean, if we ever did, and we're not, you'd have to go and do it yourself. You'd have to have a taxidermy skill up to 99. You'd have to go collect the goods yourself.
That's going to be a whole new skill now. Matched alongside sailing is going to be taxidermy.
All right, forget. Can we cut that bit? Just, no.
How long did it take to add in the cat tasks?
Not very long at all. I think probably an afternoon at best, maybe 2 hours or so.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was really commendable how quickly you turned it around. Early on, when we were assessing how much time we would have to commit to, we really wanted to include a Gertrude's Cat quest, and we really wanted to include achievements, but when we did our time costing, we just realised we couldn't reasonably get these done. Or at least we descoped them with the hope we might add them in later on if we had time.
Yeah.
And towards the end, we had enough time for doing either another quest or doing achievements, and then you went with the best solution was to work the best elements of the Gertrude's Cat quest into the achievements.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the right call. I mean, we could have spent a lot of time, we were talking about things like opening access to the sewers and having like a multi-headed Hydra Cat as a boss and things like that.
Yeah, you had quite elaborate Gertrude's Cat quest.
It was going a bit, it would have been fun, sure, but there's a lot more value in having done the achievement set in getting people exploring all of the surface that didn't really get covered with the quests and trying to point players towards certain, hopefully humorous elements that they might otherwise miss.
Yeah, I think achievements added so much longevity and gameplay to the environment and the treasure chests as well. creating more of that sandbox feel of exploring the world and looking at all the nooks and crannies for these things.
And we boiled down the kind of ideas that we'd had, the best of the ideas that we had, into the achievements. I think the majority of the time was actually spent on the animation of Fluffs being resurrected. So that's probably it.
What were your favourite jokes to add in?
Oh wow, there's so many references and jokes in there.
Yeah, it's really hard to choose. I was really impressed by what the environment guys did. They had a little bit of extra time themselves, and they went completely crazy.
As much as we like wrote jokes and Mod Osborne wrote jokes, I think they ran with it as well.
Added more environment.
Yeah, just piled on. I mean, there are still elements that I hadn't even noticed. It's only yesterday that I saw King Rold in the hanging cage with his little crown on. Yeah. And his Aeon Zig advisor in another cage just off to the side. Didn't even know they were there.
Yeah, I mean, the reliquary with all, because it was a very quick thing for them to make, because they were just taking existing assets from the game and just posing them. So like getting a stuffed Bob the Cat in there, or
the reliquary is great. Yeah,
yeah, and all the Raptors disarmor, things like that. To have all these visual references in there to support what we were doing in dialogue was really good.
Okay.
And just one of the scripted things, it was, again, with the scrying pool, I mean, we just bung the achievement in there, and it was like, I'll use the scrying pool to look at things.
Yeah.
And we had the idea of putting in some things you could like eavesdrop on and spy on people.
Yeah.
And again, that was Dave doing that, wasn't it?
Yep. So
hadn't seen any of it, and then that's where the glorious pudding is my destiny comes from. I love that. That's great. So brilliant.
Well, I was really pleased to hear all the references to Lornab and the Scrying Pool, because obviously they won the Quest Clan Cup last year, and this was one of their prizes, was to feature in the 200th Quest. So I love the way you worked them through in multiple. Yeah,
we didn't want to just make it something that was a mild reference in dialogue or something like that. We wanted to try and bring it also onto the critical path, but also something that was visually there that you could interact with, and it made it feel like a substantial part of the world, but also something that fit.
Yeah.
Hopefully we achieved that.
I think so, yeah. If you could add in more Varrock area quests later, what would you pick?
Well, we've already said a Soul's Bane. That would certainly be my favourite.
Yeah, that would be the first one to do, but Suruk, the character of Suruk, would be good to include in some way. Maybe we would like revisit a Gertrude's cat. I don't know. I think we've kind of trodden over that ground a bit.
I think by including the achievement, you've probably covered off most of it.
I don't know what else we'd include, to be honest.
Yeah, I think for the most part, we achieved the quest cohesion that we wanted. The primary thing was to ensure that we had that area of storyline running through it and giving a culmination and closure for that character. He has a tangential closure in Ritual of the Majorad, but I thought it was nice to put him more front and centre in this one, actually be able to play as him in a sort of a fan-fiction-y way at the end.
I think maybe it would have been nice to... kind of as a Blue Sky thing would have been to do something with the museum. Mm-hmm. That would have been quite interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that was actually one of the things that was on the nice-to-have list, was to add another kind of kudos set of challenges there. You'd fill up all of the exhibit cases with items that you found, or challenges you completed.
It's a bit of a sorry museum with a shield and a sword replica, and then you steal the shield.
Yeah, it's quite austere at the moment.
It's a bit bare.
Okay, will Mod Stu ever get over Meg giving him all of those rune crafting XP lamps?
No, but
would Mod Stu prefer fishing?
That wouldn't help, because that was my second 99, so it's just as bad, if not worse. But I'd got some degree of closure from putting Meg in a pillory and giving people the opportunity to throw rotten tomatoes at her. I got more of a sense of satisfaction from Pauline, I must confess, and I think a lot of players did too.
It probably didn't help that Mod Doctor and I have kind of skewed what lamps are given out to Stu on his main account.
Yeah.
That really doesn't help.
Okay, Maxie asks, how many kittens were harmed in the making of this quest?
Not enough.
None were harmed. They were all fine. You helped them out.
Yeah, in fact, you even bring some back.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd say we are +1. We are in the positive for cats harmed.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of human tragedy and sorrow and death, but yeah, we've offset it with animals.
Yeah, I mean, Gertrude's life is a mess, but at least she's got some cats now.
Pandan asks, what happened to the original idea of Delrith having a carnival or circus within the city?
That's a really good question. So what happened at RuneFest was, at that stage, the 200th Quest was nothing more than a concept, a pitch that Mod Mark was covering.
Right.
So They requested some concept art to try and get across the theme and the tone that he was going for with it. But at that stage, no pre-production had been done. We hadn't finalised any of the story or what we were going to do. So that was the direction we could have gone in, but we decided to take a different route.
Okay. So we've got loads more questions, but I think we'll probably leave those to the forums and to the FAQs we're going to be going up over the next few days.
Great.
But I have one last question. Apple Bloom asked, how do the devs stay so handsome when developing such amazing quests?
It's an excellent question.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't think I have an answer. I'm just saying it's an excellent question.
All right, okay.
I think we're probably lucky this is a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the sofa and going, this is definitely a podcast.
Hey. Unfair. Maybe not.
Right, so to the forums for the FAQs, and there's a Q&A that will have been done by the time our listeners listen to this, which I believe you're both involved in.
Indeed. Yep.
And so it's goodbye to our listeners.
Yeah, goodbye.
Cheerio. Hope you enjoy the turn of question.
Bye.
Bye.